Hello and welcome back, guys. This is Ibrahim Quraishi here, and you're watching VMware tutorials for beginners. This is session 24, and we are going to continue the topic of virtual networking. I'm going to introduce you today to VM kernel, which is a very important topic in VMware to understand what VM kernel is. We are going to dive into different type of traffics as well. So let's get started, shall we? Don't forget to comment and give me feedback, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get all the latest videos which I'm posting every week. Okay, so agenda for today, as discussed, VM kernel traffic. We are going to look at what VM kernel is and what VM kernel traffic is, and types of and the different types of traffic after that. Okay, so VM kernel traffic basically is a way for vSphere to communicate to the outside world. The goal for VM kernel port is to provide some sort of layer 2 or layer 3 service to vSphere host, so that you can all your VMs or the vSphere host can communicate out. Also, the VM kernel itself is the main component. The kernel is the main component of the hypervisor, which basically is responsible for all the activities. If we in the coming sessions, we are going to do some power CLI commands which allows you to interact with VM kernel. There are some specific commands which are very interesting as we dive into like troubleshooting sessions. You'll find like VMK ping, which is a ping command for VM kernel itself. Like normally we do ICMP ping request anyway from a machine to machine, but ESX host to communicate or to ping to a VM kernel NIC, the command is like VMK ping. So we can dive into that, but for us, for the higher level understanding, VM kernel traffic is basically your management traffic. Also on the management traffic, you can piggyback other traffics as well. Let's have a look into the other traffics what we have, and you can have a greater understanding of what I'm discussing here. So as mentioned briefly here, management traffic is another traffic which we see on the VMware infrastructure. This is normally the traffic which we use to connect to the ESX host. So the communication for the vCenter happens on the management traffic. When I say management traffic, let's be very clear. You have an ESX host, you assign an IP address, obviously you configure the host with your IP address and the gateway and DNS, whatever you have done. For us to communicate to the host, the IP which you have assigned, that is actually a management traffic or management IP address. So your vCenter will talk to the host on that particular IP. So does it make sense? So you have a host, you have assigned an IP, and then your vCenter is communicating to the host on that particular IP. Now, other traffics which we have is, we have vMotion traffic, which is purely used for when we are doing migrations, like vMotion. It could be vMotion on compute or vMotion on storage, vMotion really, storage side, but that traffic is called vMotion traffic. Again, fault tolerant, I'll discuss a little bit further about this. VM traffic is also something which we looked at. We created standard switch and distributed switch in the last 3 sessions which we did. The distributed switch which we created was for this VM traffic, really for the production traffic. And then we have vSan traffic, VMware replication traffic, which we also can discuss, and iSCSI traffic. So out of all these, obviously VM traffic, we want to completely isolate this so that it's different from management. So you have to have in your network different VLANs configured on your network, and you can isolate the vMotion traffic, the fault-tolerant traffic, and of course the iSCSI traffic as well, specifically iSCSI because you don't want it to interfere with the management traffic. But having said that, you can also piggyback it on the management traffic, and I'll show you in my demo how we actually achieve that if you're running a home lab like I am at the moment. Okay, so management traffic is used for connecting is used to connect to the vCenter. So it's a dedicated virtual switch, as we know. vMotion traffic can be enabled on management traffic or can be dedicated switch for this traffic, as I said earlier. Fault tolerance. So fault tolerant traffic is also called as FT traffic. Fault tolerance is used to protect a virtual machine from a host failure. So you can have a virtual machine running and then you basically enable fault tolerance. You have to have a quorum disk eventually. And what happens is it gets the VM gets cloned. You need to configure a NIC for a heartbeat, and eventually you'll be having um, a fully fault tolerant VM. If and we basically set anti-affinity rules really to keep them apart from two different hosts. If and then what that will do is if a host crash, the traffic is your production traffic is not affected because it will be having a fault tolerant VM which will be taking the load. So that's another way of protecting your application with a fault tolerant virtual machine. So we can obviously dive deep into this in later sessions. If you want me to, please comment on below and let me know if you want me to obviously go deeper in fault tolerance and how to set it up, so on and so forth, and I'll be happy to do that. Okay, I guess it's time for demo now. Let's get started with a quick demo. Okay, so we're back on my lab here. We have our data center which is called London and a cluster which is called demo, and I have two two ESX nested hosts running here. If I click on one of the hosts and click configure, so normally you'll be on the summary page. So if we click configure, excuse me, let's see where we are. Okay, so virtual switches and then VMK adapters. So this is what I was talking about, the VM kernel adapters and VM kernel traffic. So this is a very important obviously adapter. All the management traffic is VM kernel traffic. So if I select my management virtual switch which I have created, as you can see, the IP address given to the host is 192.168.1.103, and if I click edit, you can see certain options here. So the main thing I want to show is this is management VM kernel port which we are using, VMK port we also call it. Sometimes we call it VMK or VMK traffic, also known as VM kernel port or VM kernel traffic, as I said. But in the same VM kernel settings, I have tick box vMotion. So if I remove this tick box, vMotion will not happen. vMotion will fail. So let's untick it, and you can see management is selected here. We can have provisioning traffic as well, fault tolerant logging. We can use this network again, replication. Excuse me, sorry. It's quite late in the night, and I'm just trying to complete this session for Thursday. So let's quickly start a demo of vMotion and see what impact we have. The last and not the least, as you can see here, we have a vSan here as well, vSan, so we can enable vSan traffic on management as well. So I have unticked the, hang on, did I click OK? I don't think I did. Yeah, so okay, that's fine. Let's check the virtual machines which we have. So this is a virtual machine which is running. If I click on it, let's go to summary. It's configured on this IP address. Now let's go to ping this machine. Quickly check. Oh, so that's wrong. So let me set it on a network which will allow it to talk. Quickly go back and check the IP address. So I think this is the IP address, sorry. Ping. There you go. So let's start this ping request here. Yeah, I was wondering. So I don't have 122 subnet. Yeah, my subnet is 192.168.1.130. So that's what needs to be. I don't know why it has picked up, because it's an image which I copied. Anyway, so we have a ping running, and we will start migrating this and change the resource compute only next, and then we are going to move it to the next host available. And as you can see, it's trying to do a validation and it has failed. So if we click on details, the first thing you see is the vMotion interface is not configured or misconfigured. Source IP is which is for the host which I'm running on. This VM is running on, and then this was the destination host I was trying to move. Okay, so that explains why it's not working. So to fix that, obviously what we need to do is go back to our host, either add a dedicated vSwitch for VM network, or you can, as I said earlier, piggyback on this particular VM management vSwitch. So edit settings, enable vMotion again. As you can see, I could really have a VMK for vMotion, as I have set one up for iSCSI traffic, but then I have to set up an IP address again on all the hosts and everything. So but always try to keep the iSCSI traffic isolated anyway. So that's a advice really, first for making sure you don't have issues on your production and also your storage side. Okay, so we have enabled that, and we will go right click, migrate, change resource, and then select the resource which is, as you can see, this host, and that is 104. Compatibility check succeeded. Click next. Yeah, it knows which traffic it's going through. So vMotion. Before I finish, I just want to bring this aside so you guys can see that there is going to be a you can see the traffic moving. Relocating machine completed, and there is one ping drop. As you can see here, there's a ping drop here, and literally relocating virtual machine, you can see here 2 milliseconds and it's done. And if we go on this host, CentOS 2 will be running here now. State quickly again. So you see it. So let's put it back on 3. It's fine. So the error message here is about VMware tools not running on my yeah, it's not running on my server, the CentOS server. Finish. So 28%, 37%, relocating, and done. So this time it has taken 4 milliseconds, and you also see as you can see there's another ping drop. There's a ping drop here. What I wanted to show is obviously VMware says that when you do vMotion there is only one ping drop, and we can validate it that we are doing a compute vMotion from one host to another and there is only a single ping drop. I have seen sometimes that it has more than one ping drop, but it all depends on your network. As long as you have 1 gig connection minimum, more the better. So if you have a 10 gig connection, that's even better. So that's basically it, guys, for VM traffic. Just remember what is these traffics, and if you can isolate them, it's good to isolate them on individual VLANs and subnets as well. Thank you very much for watching. I think the video has gone a little bit longer than expected, but hey ho, what can I do? Obviously it's a live session and live demo, and sometimes you obviously you have to configure things, and I was doing live troubleshooting while my CentOS machine was not working, so you have seen that how I got it to work as well. So it's pretty good. Reach out to me on Twitter at Ibrahim Quraishi, and you can find my blog, which is ibrahimquraishi.com. I have also started working on my new website, which is called agileops.co.uk. Don't forget to check that out. So question of the day is, name the different types of traffic, and if you can, let me know what you think. What is VM kernel? What is VM kernel NIC or VM kernel itself? So let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy watching and keep sharing.